An old engineer, 84 years old, sat quietly in his study. The room was his sanctuary, a fortress built of books filled with equations, complex diagrams, and groundbreaking theories. He ran a hand over a worn spine, the pages within holding the language of mathematics and science, a language he had once mastered. He remembered the hallowed halls of his university, the late-night lectures, the hum of fluorescent lights over desks buried in textbooks. Back then, knowledge wasn't just a click away. It was earned. It was carved into his memory through endless nights of study, countless calculations, and the sheer will to understand the world around him. Every formula felt like a hard-won victory. Every solved problem a mountain conquered. Now, he looked at a world he barely recognized, a world transformed. Machines with their silent, lightning-fast processors could solve in mere seconds what had taken him years to learn by heart. Artificial intelligence could answer questions that once demanded sweat, patience, and a library full of books. A younger person might look at him and think, what a waste of effort. All that time spent memorizing when a computer could do it all. But the old engineer knew better. He smiled, a knowing, gentle smile. Because the true gift of his education wasn't the formulas themselves. It was something deeper, something a machine couldn't replicate. It was the intuition to know where to look for an answer, the wisdom to ask the right questions, and the structured thinking to navigate a problem. His mind wasn't a calculator, it was a compass. It had been trained to see patterns in chaos, to ask the questions that truly mattered, and to trust in the relentless power of human curiosity. He realized that knowledge is never, ever wasted. It hadn't just filled his head with facts. It had shaped him. It had molded him into a seeker, a lifelong learner, a guide who could point the way for those who came after him. He had no grand plan, no desire for a monument in his name. Instead, he carried a quiet, unshakable conviction. Even when his body was gone, his stories, his lessons, and the spirit of his inquiry could ripple outward, changing the world in subtle, unseen ways. Because a legacy isn't always built of stone or steel, or even revolutionary inventions. Sometimes a legacy lives in the questions we teach others to ask. It lives in the courage we inspire in a young student struggling with a difficult concept. It lives in the quiet wisdom we pass down, not as a set of rules, but as a way of seeing the world. The old engineer closed his eyes, a feeling of deep gratitude washing over him. He had studied, he had lived, and he had learned. And in doing so, in simply becoming who he was, he had already changed the world. Thanks for watching. If this story resonated with you, consider subscribing for more reflections on life, learning, and the legacies we leave behind.